Hey everyone, this is Maxim from Element.io, and in this video we are going to review Droit dark mode from AppSumo that's currently on sale on AppSumo. It's from the creators of Droit add-on for Elementor, a lesser known Elementor add-on that somehow recently won some popularity contest, but that's neither here nor there. So this dark mode is for WordPress in general. It should work on all WordPress websites. Of course, it will depend on your particular setup, and that's what we are going to have a look at. For 35 bucks, you get 10 license for 10 websites. And then if you stack 2 codes, so for 70 bucks, you get unlimited websites. So let's start right away. You can, if you buy it, you go through the process, and then you end up and you can download the plugin. And one of the things I noticed, it will probably be fixed, but for now, the limit is 3. So in AppSumo, they promise 10 websites. When we get it's 3. So that was a little bit worrying, but I'm certain they will take care of it pretty quickly. So the rest is everything as expected. You go under downloads, you download the zip file, and then you go in your plugin and you install it. After installing the Pro version, they told me I needed the free version to make it work, so I installed that. So it's another case of needing 2 plugins for essentially having just one of them. Personally, I don't really care too much about this. I understand why they do this. They need a free version, and then the way WordPress work, they don't want duplicate code. So very often it's just easier to have this set up this way. From a performance point of view, this is not a problem at all. It won't slow down. It just clutters a little bit this particular page, and that's about it. So I don't really mind. I had a look when I was installing free what was up here. So 3,000 active installations, 11 reviews, 4 stars. So I had a closer look at the reviews, because sometimes like we don't have the full picture. So mostly 5-star, 1 4-star, and then 2 1-star review. I went directly to the 1-star reviews. So once Pro version for everything, that's just someone that wanted essentially not to pay and to have the whole 9 yards. So I would discount this as just an angry review that probably has no merit, really. Mostly considering the price, 10 websites for $35. I mean, it's cheap, way cheap enough. And then this one not working as expected. So, but it's older. But still, I had a look, and essentially what he said is that the page speed was too slow. So that's the first thing I look at, because that would have been a deal breaker. Like if you cannot use this just because it's too much bloat, then it's, no matter how well it works, well, it's a deal breaker. So that's the first thing I had a look at, and I'm happy to report that it worked pretty well. So this is what we're going to have a look at very soon. But first, let's just quickly have a look at what's the bloat on this. So on this page, I have it installed. This is what we have here. We'll get back to how it all works very soon. Let's just jump in the network tab for now. And let's filter by dark mode. Let's go on the all tab to have everything. And this is, of course, this is the document, so the HTML page. It's not coming from the plugin. So what's coming from the plugin is those 4 files. So these 2 PNGs, it's just for the switch that I choose. There are different styles for the switch. So, and they are very, very light. So like 1 kilobyte for both of them together. And then the CSS is 1 kilobyte. And the JavaScript is 1 kilobyte. So it's like a grand total of 4 kilobytes. And I also tested just the speed of the page and everything before and after, when it's activated or not. And it's fast. So that's not a problem. All right, so let's move on to the settings page. So after everything is activated, then we get this new menu item in WordPress. So we can activate the license. This is already filled, that's why I have this, but of course you just have to follow like these instructions. It's pretty straightforward. And then you activate it. After this, you save the settings, and then you can jump into the other settings and have everything work. So one thing you might notice is that we have this toggle right in the WordPress interface. There is also a dark mode setting for the backend, and it's separate from the front end. So it's actually under this tab, so general settings. We can enable front end dark mode, which is essentially the point of having this. And then enable default dark mode. This is to show the dark version of the website by default to visitors. I would keep this off pretty much in every case. Why? Well, because this plugin is actually smart enough to detect when the user has the preference dark mode, like in the smartphone, let's say. If their smartphone is set to dark mode, it will automatically turn on dark mode for that user, for all users that have this set as preference, even if you have this disabled. So what this would do is essentially force it on everyone. So that's why I would just keep it off in every case. And then backend options. So this is to add this toggle here. If you don't see it yet, it's just because you need to come here, enable, save setting, and then just refresh, and then it will show up. And of course, then you can use it. So that's a preview. All right, and then let's have a look at display settings. So the switch style. So we have a few styles for the switch. This is something I would have liked to see more options. It's quite limited, like just 5 styles, and they are not that great. Like they are all right, but definitely could have been better. Of course, with a little bit of like JavaScript, you could have your very own switch and then just have it integrated with the JavaScript. But it would have been nice if maybe if there was an option like that said custom, and then we could add like maybe just 2 SVGs that are the exact same size. And when it's dark, like you use one of them, and when it's dark, you use the other one. Something like that would be very nice for as another option. That would really be a great option. So then it could be like essentially anything at all that we want. Now, yeah, we have this limitation. So I went with, I think I went with this one here. And then conditional settings. Yeah, this is if it will be sticky, I believe. I haven't even tested this. It looks like if you want it like sticky and just following everywhere, but I don't think that's great user experience in many cases. So I just kept it off. But if that's something you'd like, it should work fine. And here we have options to exclude elements. So like if you can add like a class name, your class name, or an ID, your ID, and then whatever element or class that you have on your page that has these class names, it will be excluded from dark mode. So it will just stay as it is. So that can be very, very useful. It's a great feature, definitely. I think that's one of the pro feature. Because I activated Pro right away, I'm not certain which is Pro and which is not, but you can find that out in the free version description. So, and it's custom CSS. I don't see much of any use for this. We can already add custom CSS so many places in WordPress. I guess you would add all the custom CSS that's related to dark mode. Even then too, I don't really see the point. Advanced settings, so you will notice a kind of typo. It should say advanced settings, not advanced. I don't know, advanced to this setting, maybe they want to say. I don't know. So here, yeah, advanced. All right, let's advance. So add a dark mode switch in the primary menu. That should work well when you use like the normal WordPress themes and everything. This should work fine. In my particular case, it did nothing just because I use a header template and then I use a nav menu element from Elementor. So it didn't add it there. It just, yeah, it did nothing. But if you use a normal WordPress theme and you want the switch there, that should work. And then image quality. So that's when dark mode is active. You can change like how bright the image is, the contrast, and the opacity. So that might be good if you want like to, let's say you have very bright image and you want your users to be more comfortable if they are reading at night or something, then you can lower maybe how bright they are, maybe lower the contrast a bit. I don't really see much of a use to lower the opacity because yeah, then they will like become transparent. So I'm not sure about that one. Still, it's good that they have this as an option. Yeah, can definitely be useful. Page-wise, it means that you will be able to set different palette for each of the like on a per page basis, essentially. So let's say like you have a landing page somewhere that just doesn't fit well with what you have for the rest of your website. Well, then you just enable this. You go on the page in your landing page and you change your settings for that page only. All right, so on to blog settings. So this one is a little bit incomplete. So essentially what this does is if you want to enable dark mode only on specific categories in your blog post, and then it will only be enabled for these, but you cannot have like, let's say we have different categories. Now I just have all and uncategorized. Let's just say these were two different categories. We cannot have like all set some color palette for all, and then have a different setting for another category. That's not what this does. What this does is whatever categories you have selected here, the dark mode will work for these, and it won't work for other categories. So that's essentially saying only enable dark mode for these specific categories. So yeah, it's kind of incomplete. It should have been like you can select different color palettes for different categories. That would be great. But now it's only to enable different, just to enable it at all on some categories and not on others. All right, now to preset colors. So there are like 8 presets, or we can use custom colors. If we use a preset, it's just like you select it and then you click on Save Settings, and it will be reflected on the front end. Or you can use custom color, which is really great that we have this option. And then like it's pretty much self-explanatory. So the color of the background, of the body, heading, link over, button, and border. So there could be a few more choices, and I will get back to this later. We would need a choice for inline SVGs and for shape dividers, and maybe a few more that I just didn't yet stumble across. But still, so it's pretty good. So for now, I will just use a preset because it's good enough for demonstration. This is one of the great features of this plugin. So the image switch, and like longer fields so that we can see something would be good. In any case, the way this works is whatever image that you have on your website, you can have a dark mode version. So for example, I have this little logo image. So, and the way it works, like it works well, but the way it works is a bit clunky. So let me just delete it actually and add it again. So we will see. So they say it open media library and then copy the file URL from there and paste it. So let's add my logo and do this. So essentially the best way is to add it in a new tab. So here I have the normal mode version, so it's dark. So you add it here in normal mode. And then you go back to your media library and you have the white version, or the light version for dark mode. You copy the URL again and you enter the URL for dark mode. So now we have both, like the normal mode is this, the dark mode is this, and then you save. So now this image is the light mode version, and when we enable the dark mode version, it switches to the dark mode image that we've set here. And you can have as many of them as you want. So that's definitely a great feature, very useful. Although it's still a little bit buggy. So for example, in the header, I have the same image. And the header, because it has some background gradient, it's excluded automatically from the dark mode, which I think is great. It's like what I would have wanted. However, the image, even if it's in a section that's excluded, this feature, it's still enabled. So that's a little bit annoying, and definitely like I would want this to stay the image that I've set and not to change. So that's definitely something that they should be working on. And finally, time-based. So that's like if you want to have dark mode at a certain time of the day. So let's say you are working at night, you want to have dark mode enabled. There should be some more description here. I don't really know if that's for the front end and the back end. I just don't really know. I would essentially turn this off always and never use it for the same reason that I said earlier. It's better to rely on the user's device settings. All right, so having said all of this, let's have a look at a few actual examples. So on this page, this is the dark mode version, light mode, dark mode. And you can probably notice something a little bit obvious. The transition. So the transition is like, you see, it's not great. And actually, it's not coming really from the plugin itself. It's rather coming from the fact that in Elementor, every single section has some kind of background color transition set. So that's what we see. We see the background color transitioning off, essentially. For some reason, it doesn't transition on, or at least we don't see it transition on, but we definitely see it transition off, and it doesn't look great. So that's something that they should improve. So here I have this little bit of CSS. And if we add this, then it will work much better, but then we would also lose the transition, and maybe they were used somewhere else. Essentially, what the developer should do is to add something like this temporarily, just like right after clicking this toggle, you add this CSS to the page, and then after it's transitioned, then you remove it. So then it doesn't interfere, but it fixes the problem. So now I added it to the website, and if I transition on and off, you see it's like much better. It's not like some annoying transition. So another thing you see here, we have some SVG, and it's not being considered yet. So that's something that they should definitely add. Consider like the inline SVG, the fill, and the stroke color. For now, they don't, but that's easy enough to fix with CSS. So everything essentially is pretty easy to fix with CSS, because the plugin adds this class to the body element when the dark mode is active. So this bit of CSS, it will be available on the written article if we also add it. So let's add it here, and then let's close this. And let's enable, and now our SVGs are white instead of being pretty much invisible. So, and this little line that we did not even see, now we can see it. So yeah, it's and pretty much everything else that you see, it's the like automatic results from the plugin. The only thing that I change is add this SVG support now, and then removing the transition. The rest is all coming directly from the plugin settings, so it does a pretty good job by itself. Yeah, it's definitely a good option. Right, so let's look at another page. So social media page, let's go through it as it is. And on this page, for example, there are more design elements, and as you will see, it will cause some problems. So let's go back up, let's enable this. So the first thing you will notice is the shape dividers. These are not too difficult to fix with some CSS either, but yeah, it's not natively supported, so I think they should add support for this. For now, at least, it's not. And then the kind of blobs. So if I zoom out, we can see them much better. So yeah, the blobs are not supported, but that's kind of expected. Like any kind of plugin like this that attempts to do everything like automatically, it just won't work like for every case. So I think it works well enough, and in many cases it works, but of course we cannot expect it just to work. And here I will actually show you one of the alternative to this, and it's dark mode from the Plus add-on. And the way this works, this is really like fully automatic. And if we enable it, as you see, it works by inverting the colors. So that's like a fully automatic option, but then everything becomes inverted. And very often when you do this, stuff just don't look quite right. So in this case, like the blobs that we have on our other page, they would be dark instead of still being light. But like they probably would not look quite right. So yeah, so that's and for the most part, the Plus add-ons and other add-ons, that's what they have for like their dark mode switch. It's something like this that just inverts everything. And on this page, there is no image, because when you have images, it looks even like photos. It doesn't look good at all. So then you have to exclude the photos. Yeah, I much prefer the way that Droit, or however you're supposed to pronounce it, went about this. So it actually just changes the CSS of everything a little bit, and instead of inverting it, so you can have your own colors and just more control in general, and you can definitely expect better results from this. All right, so yeah, so you see the blobs are definitely a problem. Essentially, the way you would do this is right-click, you would inspect, and then you would find like so this blob. It's a PNG, so there really isn't much that you could do. Actually, for this particular one, the best you could do is probably to invert it, funnily enough. But in general, maybe just having it to display none when it's in the dark mode would be a good option. So the way we would do this is the bodies selector. So dark mode. Let's say we select this. We select dark mode, and then we set display to none. So now it did it for all of them. So much better. And if I go back to like the light version, well, then they are still there. So that's one way to fix this. That's mostly painless, I would say, pretty quick and easy. All right, and finally, let's fix these shape dividers. I think the dev team should be able to add this as an option to fix these. So let's go again in the default style sheet. Let's keep what we added here. And then let's add this. So this is the color of the shape dividers when the dark mode is active. Let's add this. And dark mode, so 0, 0, 0. All right. So now the shapes are dark. And along with the kind of blobs fix, well, now our page looks kind of all right. And a good version of dark mode. So yep, like I was able to get this light mode, dark mode, and the shape goes back to the right mode and everything without too much problem, and everything looks decent and works well. And of course, everything could be further customized with all the options that we've seen earlier. So that concludes this tutorial. I think overall the verdict is that this is definitely a good option, pretty much already as it is right now. And I had a look at the code. I think it's well coded, short code, but quite good. I think the options are there. Definitely a few things should be improved, but so far it's good. And for the price of like $70 for unlimited websites, or just $30 for like 10 websites, I definitely think this is a great option for Elementor websites or for most other WordPress websites in general. So thanks for watching, and I will see you very soon.